anyway, I'm sure.
Okay, so basically the agenda is going to cover why today? Why are we doing this today as opposed to sometime in the future? How did we get here? What have we learned? The recommendations for moving ahead with a plan. We'll briefly touch on cost estimates, move to project oversight, and then finally the timeline and next steps. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so why today? In 2019, Strategic Planning Committee was asked to put together a plan for facility improvements for the common areas of the club. Everyone knows that the golf course had been well underway at that point in developing a plan for renovations. And so when COVID hit, we went on pause for a little while, but we were reminded by a boardroom case study in May, June that said that regardless of the world you're living in, it's critical to avoid becoming stagnant. Master facility planning, capital investment will become even more vital to retain and attract members, and that we, along with many other clubs, are looking at an approach to that follows the trends towards flexibility, informality, and casual indoor, outdoor venue experiences and outdoor recreational spaces. In addition, members have said they want facility improvements. That said, they want the current debt paid off first, which will happen in February of 2023. Members want detailed communications to understand what we're proposing, what we want our plan to do. And members want to vote on major improvements. But one of the more important pieces of this is that facilities improvements take time to design and implement. Architectural design, member input, site planning all takes time. Member vote takes preparation. And the whole process of permitting in Collier County now is taking longer than it has in the past. And it can take 12 to 18 months to get detailed construction plans, get them submitted, and get them approved. Okay, next slide. So how did we get here? Sustaining the mission and vision of our club implies that we have to evolve to meet future wants and needs of members. We know we're a 25-year-old community, and the clubhouse renovation done created significant increase in food service and casual dining. The fitness center is a major draw for new buyers and used a lot by current members, but it's presently undersized. Over the past few years, there have been Stonebridge surveys and realtor breakfasts to suggest areas of focus to address, keep community looking fresh, consider the interests of younger quote-unquote buyers and members, and stay competitive with peers in new construction. So we've got many quarterly surveys. We had the member satisfaction survey. We did 2 realtor breakfasts in 2019. And we know that we must stay current for both member enjoyment and competitiveness in the Southwest Florida market. Last year, the Strategic Planning Committee went and benchmarked 10 peer neighbor communities, and most of them, almost all, have either upgraded or plan to improve their facilities. So that was a peer neighborhood community benchmarking study we did. The last piece of information that was really missing was when we started pulling all of this together was, you can go to the next slide, that's fine. Was what do our members really want? We had pieces of what we thought members wanted, but what do they really want? So that was where we brought in Cornerstone to do a facility planning study for us. We did 6 focus groups, divided by age groups and gender. And then we did an online survey completed by 840 members that represented the 72% of our households. This was a significant response from members. In comparison, the member satisfaction survey was 725 members and 58% of households. So we had a very high interest in members giving input into what they wanted to see moving forward with the community. Key findings are that the majority of members support improving the bistro renovating the golf course, and modifying the grill room. Half of the members support a fitness center expansion. Overall support for improvements is strongest among members less than 75 years old, those with less than 5 years of tenure as a member, and members residing in the community on a part-time rather than a full-time basis. About 3/4, 73% of the members said that they would pay $100 or more per month for desired improvements. And there is a correlation between usage, support, and willingness to pay for an improvement. The survey, the members told us that their priorities were the bistro and the golf course were the most important facilities to improve, followed by grill room, main dining room, and fitness center. And the pool and multi-purpose rooms were important to fewer members, but very important to people who use those facilities. Okay. And then there were, if you remember, if you participated in the survey, there were 16 specific improvements. We asked members to tell us whether or not they've supported doing them. And there were 7 specific improvement concepts that had the highest mean scores and at least 50% of member support. And they really revolve around the bistro, the golf course, the grill room, and the fitness center. So we can move on to the next slide. So the recommendations from the Planning Committee for improvements are overall create an integrated casual atmosphere by modifying these clubhouse amenities. The bistro, which increasing the capacity, including expansion of the kitchen, increase under air seating capacity to create a 12-month operation and create a more inviting bistro bar area. The grill room, modify it to become more of an indoor-outdoor social environment. And this is where the advantage could be taken of a bistro expansion to extend the terrace outside. Probably not as big of a undertaking as expanding and redoing the kitchen in the bistro. And then fitness center, expand the fitness center capacity for additional strength and cardio equipment with adequate spacing and room for classes. And then the second big piece of this is to renovate the golf course to make it more playable, maintainable, and attractive to current members and future buyers. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to say is, well, how much is this going to cost us? And we have been meeting with people talking about this, and they have suggested to us that without design concepts, meaningful construction estimates would just be a guess on our part. A lot of it is dependent upon what kind of materials you're using, how much construction you're doing, et cetera. So developing conceptual designs and construction estimates is really the purpose of the initial planning phase and subsequent planning phases of a project. We know, though, that the results of the facility planning study provided insight into what members are willing to pay for improvements. And the average monthly payments respondents said they would support is $110.18 per month. And we're well aware of this. We're well aware of the range of responses that members gave, and plans will be developed taking this into consideration. As far as how are we going to manage the project and project oversight, the recommendations are, first of all, to establish an ad hoc committee to oversee the development and implementation of this plan. Provide input into hiring of an owner's rep, an architect, and site planner, representing members in all interactions, liaison with board committees as necessary, providing regular updates to board and members all along the way, prepare for a member vote, and the members to be assigned by the board president. And the second piece of this is to hire an owner's rep. Tim has talked to multiple GMs, and with our own experience, It'll be very important to hire a professional owner's rep to represent the interests of the club and the member from start to finish. Some of the input that Tim received was that the owner's reps saved the clubs more money than they cost in terms of their fees for service. The overall project then would then be managed by the owner's rep, who will oversee the process of recruitment, interviews, and hiring the architect and other consultants needed to optimize the plan. He will optimize the timeline, she keep work on schedule, manage the budget, taking advantage of all cost efficiencies available. And then finally, with respect to the golf course, it's customary for the director of grounds to serve as the owner's rep and manage that process, working with the golf course architect. So we would expect that Mark would be managing this from the golf course side. Okay, the ad hoc committee structure will be, the chair will be Larry Trout, and Dave Harper is the finance committee, an important piece of this, but I'll be the vice chair. And then Tom Tinkerson will lead the golf course renovation plan subcommittee, and with 4 members to be determined. And I would lead the clubhouse amenities improvement plan subcommittee with 4 other members to be determined. So when we look at the overall improvement timeline, I know this is a busy slide. When you really think about the timing, we're almost to November of 2020. So we're in that second box. We've had our town hall. We've had the board meeting today. The next important step would be to name remaining of the members of the committee and to hire an owner's rep. Can't stress enough how important. We've talked to a couple owners reps, and they really stress the importance of bringing someone in early on to manage the architect and any other people hired and to manage the costs of the project. So ideally, and I should back up and say that some of the dates in here are subject to change depending on how things work out. But ideally, we would want a member vote in Q2 2021, somewhere between April and October of next year, in order to be able to complete the finalized detailed construction drawings and permitting to get us ready to break ground or start in late March, early April of 2023. So we would see the golf course being finalized between November and April of next year, and ideally the concept development for all the clubhouse amenities improvements being done between November and April of next year. We would have a member vote, and assuming that it's approved, then that the project would be approved, we would begin for the next year to prepare the detailed construction plans to get ready for submission to the county in Q3 of 2022. This would be the finalized drawings. I mean, you can do permitting for general ideas, but you have to submit finalized drawings. And the clubhouse loan will be paid off in February of 2023, and we would see the club golf and club work beginning sometime around late Q1, early Q2 of 2023. And we have been assured that the work can be completed by Q4 2023. We intend to have member communications throughout the process. So I know it's a busy slide, but we basically have less than 2.5 years from now until the start of construction. Okay, can you go to the next step? Okay, so next steps. What we want to do is lay the groundwork today. We want to approve funding for engagement of owner's rep to manage the plan and oversee all the other work done to take us to a member vote. So The estimated cost of that is approximately $125,000. Half of 50,000 of that, up to 50,000 would be for the owner's rep, and about $50,000 for an architect, and other professional services up to 25,000. For example, if we need to hire a consultant to come in and help us lay out, do the best drawing to optimize a kitchen down in a bistro, we need consultants to come over and help us do that, or to lay out the best spacing of the equipment in the fitness center. These funds would come from the master reserves, and they would be considered part of the overall plan costs, whatever that final number gets approved, but they will come from the reserves. And then we would ask for us to approve the resolution creating an ad hoc committee to oversee the Stonebridge Facilities Improvement Plan, which includes the golf course renovation and the clubhouse amenities improvements. Okay, are there any questions?
Any of the board members have any questions? You know, one of the things that I think Gail touched on it quite well, I think, but the question of why do we need to start now? And it seems like between now and the first and say the end of March, the end of season of 2023, which is when we would want to start any construction, it seems like a long time. But when you sit down with professional experts, which we have over the past few weeks, just on the sort of the discussion purposes, start laying out the things that need to be done and the time it takes to get those things done. It's not early. We're right on time getting started, and we're not late, but we're not early either. We're right on time, and we need to move out relatively quickly to get started. So,
Larry, I had a couple of comments, please. One is this is an aside. This started with the House Committee and came over to my committee, that we're looking into not temporarily, but an interim step is adding an awning downstairs outside the bistro to extend the covered area until such time as we may do this project that's permanent. We're getting pricing right now for that, but that's something that's going on right now. And the other comment I wanted to make is, I know we had some concern expressed about spending this preliminary money, and I gave it a lot of thought. And while it seems like it's a chicken and egg situation, do you get approval first and then spend this money? But I think I don't see how we can go back to the membership and say, we don't really know what it's going to cost. We don't really know what it's going to look like, but we want you to tell us if you want to do it. And I don't think we can approach it that way. I think we have to do this. Have an intelligent presentation to the membership.
Right. No, exactly. I think we've had that discussion, and I think members are very clear about a couple of things. One, they don't want a new loan until the old loan's paid off. We've made that very clear that we're sticking with that commitment that we made. They also were very clear they wanted to make a vote. They wanted to vote on, in accordance with the governing documents, they want to vote on the expenditure of any funds. Made that very clear in the presentation. That's baked into the schedule and is very much part of the program. But they also want to know what it is they're voting on. And you can get some back of an envelope sketchy looking things and say, what do you think? But people, it's not fair to ask them to vote, to spend money, whatever it turns out to be, to ask them to vote for something that they can't really see how that fits into their view of what Stonebridge ought to look like. So I totally agree. You've got to lay the groundwork and then go to the members and say, this is what we're talking about. This is what it's going to look like, and this is how this will improve the amenities and keep us member satisfaction and keep our community competitive. And then people can see that in the designs. So I agree with you, Charlie.
Larry, this is Tom. I mean, that's kind of what has happened on the golf course renovation. You know, the architect has provided us plans. People have seen those plans. We've received input back on it, and it will just make it's much easier to accommodate what our members want when they have an opportunity to see a document almost like what Schulteis has provided for us. So I assume we would be talking about the same kind of information for the clubhouse renovation.
Right. Betsy, you had a comment?
Yes, I think the fact that we've already had a member survey that was very well, very big participation from the membership indicates that members do want input. But the input shows us that the bistro area is a really important part of their lifestyle amenity that they want. Everybody wants that more relaxed place where they can just drop by and, you know, socialize with friends. And our bistro is so inadequate. Not that our dining room isn't really well attended. It is. We just need this extra piece to satisfy members. And we have to now start in on how we're going to make it work. And this is the great first step. So I think we really have to commit to the $125,000 in order to get the process rolling so we can get actual facts and figures for members to see.
Kathy, what do you think?
I agree with what Betsy just said. You know, we had 840 members who completed this survey, and 73% are willing to pay for these facility improvements and the golf course improvement. And I think it will, we're responding really to what the members really want this club to look like going forward. And Gail, you did a beautiful job on that timeline. I think it explains to people why we have to start now, but we're not starting now, but why the process needs to start now. And I think that allowing the membership to understand the process and the way that you present it is very valuable to get the consensus we need from the members going forward. So I think that communication is terrific.
Sandy, did you have some comments?
I agree with both Kathy and Betsy. I think there's been a push to redo the bistro for quite a while, and we need to start some kind of plan to give a vote.
All right, Jim, what do you think?
A couple questions and then maybe a comment. What are the qualifications of the ad hoc members that you're going to pick, Larry?
Well, the ad hoc members, we want them to be people who are actively involved in the community, who can see how the designs are developing, both on the golf course and the amenity side, other amenity side. They can see how that's going to fit into the Stonebridge life, what members would like. The ad hoc community, the ad hoc members are going to help the input to the design work as that progresses. The input's going to be through the ad hoc committee. They will be the representatives of the members. So we want people that have a real interest in this, a real passion for it, and are willing to put in the time and effort, because I think there's no doubt that the time leading up to a vote is going to be a very intense time, working with designers, working out issues that come up, questions that come up. I mean, Tom talked about the golf course. We have a rough design for the golf course, but we have some issues that still have to be worked out on that. So there's lots of things that have to be done, and we need people who are going to be active and engaged and really committed to getting that done on behalf of the members. So that's generally the kind of people that we're going to be looking for.
Are they going to be responsible for interviewing and picking the representative and the architect? Is that part of their job, the committee's job?
Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, yes, I think we have talked to some owners reps, so we have a good idea of whom we might like to hire for that, but we're still working through that. But in terms of the architect, yes, they would. I mean, on Tom's side, you already have the golf course architects, so the people wouldn't be involved in doing that kind of work. But on the clubhouse amenity side, we would definitely be involved in picking the architect and other contractors that would come in.
Yeah, and that's why we've kept the committee relatively small, because some of the people that we've talked to, the outside kind of owners reps and others, and when asking them what are sort of best practices in this oversight process for the project, they said you want to have an ad hoc committee that can represent the members, but you don't want it to be too big, because then it gets unwieldy and you're not really clear what the direction really is. So you need a relatively small committee of people that are dedicating their time and their efforts to moving the project forward.
Thank you.
Question.
Kathy?
To Jim's point, who would that ad hoc committee report to, and how would they communicate to the board?
Yeah, the idea is that the ad hoc committee would be chaired by the president and the finance committee chair. And the reason for that is that obviously we want to have the board president, whoever that is, involved in that. And the decisions, we talked a little bit about cost and how we don't really know what the costs are of either of the projects. But as we balance the willingness of the members to pay with the cost of the two projects, we want to have the finance chair and the president there to balance those two, because this is not a blank check for the golf course or the amenities, or both of them. We're going to have a budget to live within, and it's going to recognize what members have told us they're willing to pay. We need to balance that, and that's why the ad hoc committee would be chaired by the president and the finance committee chair. And then the other two chairs will work closely with them.
I would think that the committees, I mean, that this ad hoc committee would have to be part of the monthly update to the board for sure.
Oh, okay, that was my question.
Then have as many updates to the members as we go along as well, in addition.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
And the ad hoc committee would begin when, Larry or Gail? When do you think would have the next president? Because Larry's talking in the third person, like he's out of here and then give it to the next guy.
It's
No,
really
the ad hoc committees. That's a to do now list item.
right away.
I mean, if the board approves the resolution, we want to get on that right now. We want to get the ad hoc committees together. We want to get the owner's rep on contract, and then start to work through the process of who's the best architect, what's the best process to use. So what do the members want to see in these facilities that we're talking about? We have to put something together to go to the architect and say, here's what we're looking for in general. So a lot of work has to be done. So that needs to be started right away. And then, as the board transitions, the individuals filling those slots will transition.
Gail, yeah, would you mind sending us that timeline slide?
Yeah, please.
Be helpful.
I'll give you all the slides. Yeah, I'll give you all the slides.
If you want the whole deck, you can have the
Sure.
whole deck.
Sure. I just want that timeline slide is really good.
Yeah.
I think if you think of if you think that we could have a member vote by the end of season, around the time of the April town hall or whatever, that means we have less than 6 months or around 6 months to create a plan. So we need to start right away.
Right.
I mean, when you look at this whole timeline, the most important piece of it is to get to the member vote. I mean, we have to do the detailed plans after that. So I think that's kind of driving the sense of urgency if we want to start construction in 2023. Because if we lose a season, then you're to the next year.
Right. And just to hitchhike on Gail's point, one of the pieces of the schedule, in fact, the piece of the schedule that we agonized the most over was the vote. Not whether to have one, but when to have it. Do you have it in the spring when you've got still have people here to the extent that they're still here in April, May? Do you wait until October, November and potentially put yourself a little bit in a schedule bind? or do you have it in July and August when there's kind of a lull in activity, and not only, and we'd vote electronically anyway, so people would be able to vote from wherever they were. But honestly, when people go head up north, they start getting engaged in whatever they do up north, and getting a vote, an adequate vote would be difficult, potentially difficult over the summer. So that was the piece of the schedule that we agonized the most over, of where to put the vote that maximize the information people have, but also it maximizes the likelihood that people will vote for or against it, but just vote in general. And that was a real, that it.
And I think we could, if we had to push it off, depending on how the world looks in March or April or whatever, we could, but it really has to be done by October of next year to really give ourselves the right amount of time to do all the planning that we need to have the construction take place.
But if at all possible, I'd like to see it in the spring when the maximum number of people are here.
And we will have a whole package of renderings. I mean, this won't just be, okay, here's a building here and there. We'll have a full package for people to actually get the flavor of what, you know, they're going to be able to enjoy after we have a vote. Sandy?
Larry, are we having one plan for them to vote on, or like the last remodel, there were an assortment of plans?
TBD. I don't know. You know, that's an interesting way to go, but it also complicates the vote. You know, if you got various plans to do, so that's something we'll have to sort out as we see how the designs come together, and that sort of thing. We'll have to decide how to do that.
And there may be opportunities, we haven't worked through all the details of this, but to get some member input along the way, or we'll have committee, other member input going to committees to have people comment on potential, what something might look like, and do they like it, don't they like it? But we haven't sorted out all those details yet. We'll do that. We have had recommendations from people we've talked to that says you should bring your one best plan forward to the community. So we're just going to have to wade through that as we move forward.
Jim, if I could just, Jim, your question about what the ad hoc committee is going to do, look, when Gail sends out, or Tim sends out the slide package today, look at the chart called Project Oversight. And the first major bullet is about the ad hoc committee, and underneath it there's 6 bullets, sub-bullets that explain what the functions of the ad hoc committee are going to be. So just to give you a little more information. Betsy, you had a question.
I just wanted to make a comment on about offering several plans. It seems that if you're going to have this expertise advice in how to get the best, say, kitchen, bistro bump out space for that, and that's one of the main areas, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what is going to cost you and whether it's going to be in your budget. So if you start adding all these variables about, oh, pick this or pick that, you're going to change the equation of what this is going to cost. So I think, in a way, if you pick a really great plan that's going to work in the budget, you're better off having members vote on that, and it's less confusing, because the first renovation we did was a whole different ballgame. It was a much more extensive renovation. This time we know exactly the areas that we need to renovate. So we should be able to drill down and present the members with the best use of the space and at the best prices, and just present the plan. So,
okay.
And who's going to pick the ad hoc committees?
The committee chairs.
Well,
And with Dave and I, the ad hoc committee chair, Dave and I, and the 2 subcommittee chairs, Gail and Tom, and we'll work together to pick the ad hoc members. Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about the finance committee's involvement in this?
Well, I'd like to first talk about a lot of the strategic planning committee members' involvement in this, because they've been very engaged. I've been very impressed with the enthusiasm, the amount of work and time put into it. It's a 1 or 2 person project. I mean, Gail has been spearheading it, but there have been a lot of people on that strategic planning committee that have been quite impressively involved in this. And the other thing I would say too is that we're talking, and this might be repetitive, but I'll just put it in terms of the way I look at it. There's two major ways messages get delivered to a board. One is by a survey and the other is by vote. And so one could ask the question, shouldn't we vote on it? Again, getting to Charlie's question of chicken or egg. Should we vote on it before we go with spending $125,000? Well, we got a message to the board vis-a-vis the survey that says we want to do something. So the next step is we do something in a fashion that gives us some good cost estimates, which again, that isn't something that Finance Committee is going to do. Finance Committee is going to be involved in identifying the financing and funding for the project, not coming up with cost estimates. So we need to get to the professionals,
Right.
as is being proposed, to get the right detailed cost estimate so that we can put it to a vote, which is the next place where the message would need to get conveyed to the board. So
And the Finance Committee is very involved too, so.
pardon me?
The Finance Committee has been very involved in this also, because you're on the Strategic Planning Committee as the vice chair, and you're the chair of the Finance Committee, so there's been a good connection between the two.
Yes, that crossover I think has been very important, because we've been able to communicate back to the Finance Committee as to where the strategic planning process is, and then we'll continue that crossover as we progress.
Sandy, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I'm assuming the members rep has experience already with this type of thing, correct?
Well, we haven't picked one yet, but we've interviewed 3 or 4 people, and I can tell you they're very qualified. One of them is extremely qualified in my mind. Lots of experience in this particular owner's rep role, including many high-end clubs in town and others in town. Tim's reached out to club managers, gotten feedback on how these people have performed in their jobs as owners reps. So I think, yes, this and the whole reason to do this, and just to reinforce what Dave was just saying and Gail said, is we got an expert in golf course. We got Mark, and we got Eric, and we got experts in golf course. So we don't need an owner's rep there. They are our owner's rep, and they're highly qualified to do it. When it comes to modifying buildings and fitness centers and that sort of thing, we don't really have an expert on the staff for that. And it's too much to ask members to do that. So we're hiring an owner's rep whose expertise is managing the process of deciding exactly what you want, who are your architects and your consultants and your general contractors to help you get it done. How do you keep people on schedule? How do you dog people every day to make sure they're getting things done? All of that. That's what owners reps do. And I think we've got several to pick from who are very, very qualified and have lots of experience in doing that. And that's why we're bringing them on, because they're experienced in that and we're not. So.
Well, what I wanted to say is, when we were the communications and IT committee were in the process of who to hire or to keep Comcast, we hired a similar type consultant, and it was very, very valuable. Because we weren't all experienced IT people, and he had the experience of what other clubs have done and what other vendors were doing. So $50,000 is a lot of money, but in the scheme of things, I think it's an excellent thing to do.
Right, and Gail mentioned this, and go ahead, Gail.
I was just going to say, when we interviewed these people, we found out just how much we did not know for whatever we thought we knew.
Right.
And the benefit of bringing these, a couple of them are also our general contractors, but prefer to do this side of it. One is a civil engineer, so they they have expanded knowledge beyond just managing project management. So it's really, they were really impressive. I mean, it caused us to change and rethink a few things in how we developed the presentation and our proposal.
Right, and Gail mentioned that Tim got some feedback from at least one of the local clubs that has used one of these owners reps. And their feedback was that the owner's rep saved us way more money than he cost us, and that doesn't even touch on the schedule and the quality of the work and that sort of thing. So I think the right thing to do is to hire an owner's rep, a well-qualified, experienced professional, and then the ad hoc committees will work with the owner's reps to provide the member input to that. But the owner's reps are the experts that manage the actual project.
Great.
All right, any other questions or comments? Ben, do we have any comments or questions from the members? Go ahead, Kathy, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say it might be helpful in communicating with the membership to involve Sandy's committee communications.
Right.
Right.
I think that's an important piece of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know, and when we started to develop the ad hoc committee concept, we looked at what committees would have to be on it, and it basically everybody in one way or another. And so we said, well, let's just have members, and the board members they're going to have their role anyway. So pretty much everybody gets touched by this project one way or another.
Right.
Ben, do we have any comments or questions from members?
No, sir. No comments or questions as of right.
Wow.
Okay, Gail, why don't you present the resolution? And what we're going to do is going to present the resolution, and then we're going to jump to Jim's report on tennis and fitness, and then we'll come back to the resolution for the final vote on the resolution, and that'll give people some additional time to ask any other questions if they want to. So, Gail, why don't you present the resolution, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Just a quick reminder for the audience that you need to enter any questions that you have into the question bar, which is on your control panel for GoToWebinar.
Okay. This resolution is dated October 23rd, 2020. The directors of Stonebridge Country Club Community Association, Inc. hereby adopt the following resolution. Whereas the Stonebridge community has expressed the desire to pursue improvements to the club facilities and amenities to enhance member enjoyment and remain competitive in the Southwest Florida bundled golf community market. Whereas the services of certain professional experts, such as, but not limited to, an owner's representative and an architect, will be needed to develop a design, planning, and cost estimating of any club facility improvement projects needed to support a member vote on those projects. Whereas the board of directors desires to create a facility improvement planning ad hoc committee to oversee and provide member input to the design, planning, and cost estimating of any projects and to serve as a means for communicating with members leading to a member vote on the projects. Whereas funding will be required to create a facility improvement plan for a member vote to include services of professional experts, and it is recommended by the Finance Committee that this be funded from the master reserves at a cost not to exceed $125,000 for design and planning work necessary to prepare for a vote of the members. Resolved, the Board of Directors approves creating a facility improvement planning ad hoc committee with the members to be assigned by the board president. And resolved, the Board of Directors approves the expenditure of not to exceed $125,000 from the master reserves for the conceptual planning and cost estimates necessary for a proposal to support a member vote on the proposed projects. The above resolution was adopted by the Board of Directors on the 23rd day of October 2020.
Okay, can I get to accept the resolution? I mean, make a motion.
So moved.
Okay, it's not a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, now we'll go into the comment and question period. Anybody have any other comments or questions about the project, the resolution, or anything else? And then I'm going to put it on hold for a minute and go to Jim and give members a chance to type in their questions if they have any last questions. Jim?
Okay, thank you. As Tim mentioned, the tennis courts got new nets, new lines, and some new hard shoe put down. So the courts are actually in better condition today than they have been in a while. We are now waiting for the money to be available for the campus cover that's going to protect viewers near Court 1, between the Court 1 gate and the workout facility. It'll be a similar canvas cover that's in the swimming pool area at the moment. We are in the early stages also of trying to design and find out how to design a smaller viewing area near Court 3, which is the court near the road at the Ashton Oaks entrance area. And once we have some understanding of what that's going to look like, we'll make a presentation requesting the funds for that. And that'll come out of the resale reserve. The other thing I want to say is Blue Zones, so with the leadership of Carol Gaffney, has held an initial, October 7th, an initial meeting, which despite some technical problems with the GoToMeeting app, it was well received. Well over 40 some people attended. We had the executive director of the Blue Zones from Southwest Florida here, made a very helpful and information-filled presentation. And some of the projects and events that Carol and her subcommittee have set up are going to be very well attended, we hope, and we're pretty excited about that. And notwithstanding Ben and Tim's handsome and debonair approach to life, I want to report that the most healthy and the most popular member of the Stonebridge staff happens to be Jeff, because he does a Zoom classes all the time, and he has thousands of followers all over the country. I'm just saying that's from him to me, and I thought you people ought to know that. So we're happy about Jeff's popularity on Zoom TV.
I hear that Jeff's international.
Oh yeah, international.
International. So he's not just a national figure, he's an international figure on the
That's
Zoom.
right, yeah.
Good.
Amazing.
Good. You know, I think the Blue Zone project's got some great things going on for this next year, and I particularly like the Track Your Trek initiative. That's going to be a real winner, I think, when in January.
Yeah, we're gonna come out with some information, more information about that soon. So we're gonna have everybody healthy and living way beyond 100 years old.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, then, and we'll have the room in the bistro for him too. So
maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jim, for that. Thanks to the tennis committee for their work. Okay, back to the strategic planning committee, and Gail has presented and we've seconded the resolution that would do two things. It would create the ad hoc committee, and it would allocate 125,000, not to exceed 125,000 for the planning phase of the facilities improvement. Any other questions or comments about that? And do we have any questions or comments from the members?
Got two comments from the membership. Start with a comment from Dennis Murphy. And he states, I want to register my concerns again in regard to the proposed changes to the 12th green that has been recommended in the golf course redesign.
Okay, Tom, that one's over to you. And that'll be part of the process.
Absolutely, that's part of the process that we look forward to. We're aware of Dennis's concern and other folks in Heatherwood, and that's one of the reasons we will be working with Kip and the committee to work out satisfactory changes to everybody.
Right. To stay involved.
Follow-up comment, specifically the placement of a golf cart path behind the green. This change will have a negative impact on property values in Heatherwood. Please keep this in mind as this process moves forward.
Right. Yeah, that's the purpose of the time between now and the vote, is to get all those things voted out. We're well aware of those concerns.
And next I have a comment from Dixie Bibb, where she states, thank you to the board for leading us into a bright and beautiful future at Stonebridge. Most excited about these planned improvements.
Good. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay,
That is
so
all I have for the audience.
sorry.
Well, Mr. Trowell, I did get an email from Mr. Linderer just now. He said he could not make a comment or question, I guess, through the app. He said not against SPC, but putting cart before horse. Maybe that should be before the horse. He says seek spring vote. That's what he wrote.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to the, and I assume what he's talking about is, do you vote to do something before you know what you're going to do it on? I think we've had a discussion of that it's not fair to go to the members and ask them to commit some amount of money that we don't have a reasonable estimate for a project that we don't have a reasonable idea what it is yet, and ask them to commit to that. So we'll go forward. The objective of the team is to go forward, get enough of a design so when we ask the members to vote, and we will ask members to vote, when we ask them to vote, they will have a good idea of what they're voting on, and they'll have a good idea of what it's going to cost them. And I think that's the only fair way to do it to the members. And I think the money we spend now is money well spent up front.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, is that it, Ben? Tim?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to bring the resolution for a vote. All those in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the resolution passes. All right, good job, Gail, and good job to the Strategic Planning Committee. Good job.